guys, and welcome to today's episode of Justin Loves the Tech. So, I'm actually moving right now, so I'm going to be shooting this outside and seeing how that goes. Maybe I'll do more in the future, maybe I won't. But yeah, please excuse any car noises. So, today we're going to be taking a look at both the PlayStation 4 Slim and the Xbox One S, the $300 console offerings from both Microsoft and Sony. And finally, taking a look and answering which console is better. Is the PlayStation 4 really better, or does the Xbox One have some reasons why it should be bought instead? Okay, so now I'm down in frame. First off, I have already taken a look at the controllers and done comparisons of these. You can click anywhere on screen pretty much, and I'll link you over to the video where I talk about the controllers, because they really deserve their own videos. The cameras I'm going to look at a little bit later, so for right now we're not going to take a look at them, so let's put those off to the side too. And as you can see, I went and got a whole lot of games. This was by far the most expensive project I have yet to do. But I do have Final Fantasy, Minecraft, Fallout 4, and Doom for both systems, and I did direct video comparisons of each game, which will be later on in the video. So, what we're going to start off with is just kind of an overall tour and look at both systems. As you can see, the PlayStation 4 is quite a bit slimmer. It's almost half as slim, but it's a really big freaking console. So here's the overall size, and then let's next to it get the Xbox One. I mean, really, it's thinner, but it's weird thin. I know a lot of devices are starting to do this, like the Xbox or the DirecTV cable boxes are super slim, but it's just so pancakey. It's just weird. Now, there's no reason that that's a bad thing. It's just the Xbox One S has kind of the more traditional VCR-sized box that everything has had since VCRs, really. As you can see, there's a little black portion here that contrasts with the white and actually makes it look only this thick instead of this thick. It's an interesting design choice, and yeah. So, taking a look at the front of the consoles, we can see the first difference right away. Well, not necessarily see it, but it's there. The PlayStation 4 is a slot-loading Blu-ray drive, where the Xbox One is a slot-loading 4K HDR Blu-ray drive. So this is able to output to your 4K TV at full high dynamic range, where the PS4 is not. So right there, you can see the Xbox has a lot of media features that the PlayStation doesn't necessarily have. Next off, if we take a look at USB ports, on the front, the Xbox One only has one USB 3 port, yet the PlayStation has two. They also both have their respective power and eject buttons. You got power and eject right here, which are kind of hidden under this top piece, which makes them a little annoying to get to, but not bad. Then the Xbox has them prominently displayed with their power button right here and the eject button right there. Next off, when we look at the top, there is one major difference between these two systems. The PlayStation has one big flat top with a nice logo in the middle, where the Xbox, half of it is vents. Now only about 120mm space is open here for the fan, but it's obviously trying to keep it nice and cool. This is probably because they don't want another 360 disaster. So next, let's take a look at the back here. And this is where they really start to spread apart. The Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 both use the exact same 120-240 volt plug. They both output to an HDMI TV, but the Xbox is capable of outputting 4K HDR, and the PlayStation can only output at 1080p. Then we see the Xbox 360 still has that HDMI in, so you can connect your cable box or another system and get video pass-through. The Xbox 360 has two HDMI ports, where the PlayStation 4 has none, bringing the overall and final total to 3 ports on the Xbox 360 and only 2 ports on the PlayStation 4. They both have a LAN port for connecting into a wired network. They're also both capable of Wi-Fi on 2.4 and 5 GHz. The Xbox 360 has optical audio out to go to a surround sound system that is separate from a HDMI port. And it also has an IR out, which can be used to control other devices like the TV box that I mentioned earlier. Now, the one remaining thing is the PS4 has a connector for its camera, where the current generation Xbox does not, and you have to buy an adapter, which I reviewed here. You can just go ahead and click on the video. Now, on the Xbox One S, you can see huge venting all throughout the back. And the PlayStation 4 does have that under this top ledge, but not as much so. So, from what I found, the PlayStation 4 runs much hotter and even will blow hot air out at idle, when the Xbox isn't going to blow any hot air out unless you're playing, and it doesn't run as hot in those conditions. As you can see on the right side here, both consoles have a little bit of vent holes, and same for the left. They both got a little bit of vent holes, but not too much. But this is where the PS4 has a foot ahead. So, on the PS4, with just a simple Phillips screwdriver, it's possible to pop open this little tray here, and then take out one screw, and remove this factory stock hard drive and replace it with an SSD if you want really fast load times, or a higher capacity drive, because the stock model is only 500 gigs. And just with the handful of games I've installed, it's pretty much already full, and it's not going to be able to take much more. So if you get the 500 gig model and realize in the future you want more storage, it's nice to be able to switch it out. Where on the Xbox One, it is permanently inside, and unless you crack open the console, replace the internal drive, and do some real complex work to get the formatting to match, you're never going to replace that drive. Alright, so that's pretty much everything you're going to be able to know from the outside of these systems. So let's take a look at the inside. The user interface, the gameplay, the apps, and all that good stuff. But first, before we do that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the cameras. So, first off, one big difference that you can see, this thing is huge. It is big, and it's kind of heavy. And this guy here is tiny, and it's got this little flip stand, which is awesome to have and works on basically every TV I've ever tried it on, with its wide adjustability. But it's tiny. It's teeny. Now, you might think, well, if it's got a good enough camera, that's great. Let's start off with what most people are going to be using these for. Voice commands. You know, you can say Xbox on. There's no PS4 on. You can't turn it on with the camera. And, so, from strictly a voice command standpoint, the PS4 has a hard time understanding you, where the Xbox One's camera will hear you about 90-95% of the time, and that is partially due to when you set it up, it does a room calibration, so its microphone array can see what your room sounds like. It'll play some sounds out of your TV and hear it back, and that calibration makes it work almost every time, whereas PlayStation, if you get a little background noise, like if someone's running like a blender in the next room, it's not going to hear you, but the Xbox will still hear you. Next up is the cameras in them. Okay, so the cameras itself, as my light kind of moves to the side here, I'm just finishing up. Inside the PlayStation, it has two, what is basically 720p webcams. They are 1200 by 800, but that's roughly 720p. And then it has a couple different microphones in here to give a decent microphone away, and it works alright as a webcam if you're going to be like Twitch streaming, but it's not overall all that great. It works, I imagine, reasonably well for controller tracking, but nothing really uses that unless you're going to try and run VR. So, unless I get a VR thing, I can't really test that ability, and it's overall not all that good. But, on the other hand, the Xbox, it looks like it just has one camera, right? Well, actually, there is a second camera inside the Kinect, which is an infrared camera, which allows it to see in the dark. So, like, if there's no lights on, it can still see how you're moving around, like the original Kinect. Also, it has a much better microphone array, which combined with the system software, like I mentioned, does a better job at voice control. And the camera itself, instead of a effectively 720p, it is a 1080 webcam. So this is really quite a good quality camera. It's got the infrared camera so it can see at night, and it also has an IR blaster, which does the same thing as the IR out on the console. And instead of needing a special little thing, if you have this hooked up, it can control your cable box, it can control your TV, it can go Xbox volume up, Xbox volume down. And this doesn't have any of those functionalities. So while it is a brick, and unless you get a special thing that like clips on, you can't mount it on top of your TV, it really is a much better camera. Also, one thing to mention is that there is a tripod mount on the bottom of this, so you're able to mount this on a tripod if that's something that's interesting for you. I have actually used that feature in the past, but your usage of that might vary. I don't know if you're going to want that much, so that's kind of a look at it. If you're just doing some Twitch streaming through the console directly, this guy is going to be alright, but if you really want a camera that's going to be good at voice control and has a better quality of streaming, the Xbox One camera is great, and this, with the adapter, can be linked to a Windows 10 computer with an available USB 3 port. So, yeah. So, one more thing to look at before my light completely goes away is some other accessories that the consoles have available. Now, for the PS4, basically the camera is it, unless you want to count the VR headset as an accessory, but the Xbox One has quite a few. This isn't all of them, but there are some really good ones for it. It has a digital TV tuner for the Xbox One. This one is a Hapig, and basically it plugs into a USB port, and then you can take a feed from your local antenna and pick up your local channels and control it with it. And if you're going to get this guy, I would recommend you also go and get the remote. Now, what the remote does is it can control volume up and down and mute on your TV, along with the DVR capabilities of the Xbox, and just a few other features. You know, it has your basic menu buttons, and you can go and move through different menus, and an Xbox home button. It is infrared, so it doesn't connect over Bluetooth or the way the controllers do. And it runs off of 2 AAA batteries, which I'm not a huge fan of, but isn't really anything too bad about it. And it's a nice little remote. It's only like $20-25 if I remember correctly. Alright, so let's go take a look at gameplay footage. Okay, so now that you guys seen some of the gameplay footage, some of the user interface, and some of the other stuff I've touched on, it's down to that question. Which one should I buy? Should I buy the Xbox One, or should I go with the PS4? And I'm not going to say one or the other. What I am going to say is, if you only want to play games, and occasionally, you know, watch Netflix, but basically, you're getting the console to play games, that's the reason you want it. The PS4 is your better option. It has better graphics, and from what I found, and you can see this on your own, and decide, but I think it really has better color production, even though the Xbox One S is capable of HDR. So when you're talking about normal 1080p, the PlayStation 4 seems to do better color-wise. Now, if you're not looking just to play games, but you also want a media center device, you're going to want to get the Xbox One, because that is what it was designed to be. It has a better disc player, it can output to TVs that are better TVs. From what I find, it has better sound quality. The audio coming out of this, the audio production is better. Also, it has more compatibility. It has Pandora. The PlayStation doesn't have Pandora, and I looked it up. Someone emailed them. They said that Sony doesn't give them everything they need to be able to do it, and they're probably not going to be able to ever make a Pandora app for it. I mean, really. Why is Sony blocking it? It's got to be something stupid simple. But the Xbox One, it has all kinds of your media center apps. It's got Pandora, it's got Netflix, it's got Hulu. And it doesn't try and spam you with ads. This thing, you know, you saw it in the user interface, but when you went to the TV section, there was like 12 ads, and you can't get rid of those. This guy, it'll have like a, hey, buy Xbox Live in the corner, but it's not going to cover up all of your pages of programs and try and trick you into installing it. And this guy's got everything you need and Pandora. Also, it's got the accessories, which if you're going to do a media center thing, you might really be interested in. So you can connect local TV, you can have a nice little remote, and it does have a backlight. I think the batteries are dead. And yeah, I mean, they're really great accessories. So, one more thing to talk about, and might sway your decision. Like, you might think the Xbox One's better, but go with the PS4, or you might think the PS4 is better and go with the Xbox One, is always the exclusive titles. So, you know, your Halos and your Uncharted and all that stuff. But also it's the sheer amount of games. Now, they both got lots of games coming, but you might be interested in some upcoming releases. So, when I was picking up the PlayStation at GameStop, I got a list. So, these are all the games for the Xbox that will be coming out between the middle of March and the end of the year. And the PlayStation has a page, almost 2 pages. So, I know not all of these are going to be great, not all of these are going to be important, but the PlayStation has a lot more upcoming releases. So you might want to take a look at some of what's coming out throughout the end of the year. And yeah, so if you just want to play games, PS4 all the way. If you want to have a media center, Xbox One, pretty much all the way. And overall, really, I do like the media center abilities of the Xbox One S, so I'm going to be sticking with that, and I might or might not keep this guy, because it was kind of a lot of money, and I could get most of that back if I sell it. But let me know, do you guys want me to do a more in-depth video of the cameras of the systems? Do you guys want me to take a look at the PS4's, the VR headset for the PS4? Or do you guys want me to do something else entirely and just throw these consoles off the deck? Just let me know. And really, thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, hit thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you hated it, go ahead and hit thumbs down. If you really want to see more, hit the subscribe button. It really helps me out. Like I said, I should have the controller comparison video up at this point. I should also have that adapter video. I do have that adapter video up for the Kinect adapter at this point. And, you know, I might throw some few other videos on the screen that you might want to go take a look at. But, thanks for watching.